A good evening, everyone. We are in the Public Arts Select Committee of the District of Squamish for May 3rd. Hatham Squallow, Chris Kalakmut, Classic Homish, Owayomayo. Welcome to the traditional territory of the Squamish Nation. There's an amended agenda in front of the committee. If I can get a motion to approve the agenda, moved by Toby, second by Fran. All those in favor, opposed, motion carries. We have minutes from our last meeting on April 5th for approval. Moved by Sydney, seconded by Catherine. All those in favor, opposed, motion carries. Is there any business arising from the minutes? See none. We don't have any delegations or petitions. Business, first up is our staff update, mural project update, and banner sales.
Yeah, good evening everyone. I'll be really quick. The Exciting Squamish Mural Project was awarded shortly after last meeting with the library going to Sierra Douglas and the Brennan Park going to Stan, butcher this last name. Matushak, thank you. Contact has been made with them, and initial logistics and discussions are underway, as well as meetings on site. So we expect a likely start date to be late May, with completion of approximately 1 month, likely a little bit more for the library. Both sites are looking at ways to engage the youth with the artists during the working schedule. I do just want to point out that Sierra has been open to tweaking or matching the reading nook that initially there may have been some discussion about mirroring the two. Yeah.
Okay.
So so that's underway as well. If anyone has any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them.
Don't see any hands. We're good.
Awesome. And banner sales.
We'll
Can you go back one just, oh yeah, perfect, that's, yeah, perfect.
So this is the one that's actually going to Brennan Park.
Brennan, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they were, the library was amenable to our suggestion on
Yeah.
all that?
Yes,
They
absolutely.
thought it was the best one for their space too?
Yeah, absolutely. And Toby, there will be a discussion at some point to bring you in the loop to make sure that everyone's feeling good about the color selection to match.
And I did talk to Hillary about that, as well as I know that the library wants to have some input on the words,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
the specifics
Yeah.
of the words.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're gonna request a sample of how the lettering will be done, so that it meets, you know,
Yeah.
a standard that they're happy with.
Awesome.
Yeah. Everyone seems to be very excited about both the projects, and things are moving forward.
Right, nice.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Banner sales, with the anticipated approval from council and adding to the fees and charges bylaw, we anticipate them going on sale the week of May 15th. The exact week of that may be tweaked, the exact day of the week. We'll announce that in a communication out to press, and we'll make sure that you guys are included in that as well.
Can you remind me, we were trying to make it so the sales could go back to the committee so we could spend it on public art?
That was not the case. It goes back to general revenue.
Why is that?
Because technically it came out of operations in 20.
Well, no, not all of it.
Not all of it,
We
no.
paid for the extra, the public art committee paid for the extra printing.
Yes, in the absence of public art accounts being set up, it's my understanding, from the direction of finance, it's my understanding that the funds are to be redirected back into either operations or operations general revenue. I can dig further into that, given the,
Because it was
Yeah.
public art who spent the extra money to do the extra run.
yeah,
So it should go back in the public art fund,
okay.
if you ask me.
Yeah, because we made the
We made the decision to do the
critical,
overrun,
yeah,
and we
critical
used public art
decision,
funds to
yeah.
do it.
Okay.
And finance has to figure out a way to facilitate that. And they haven't set the public art reserve fund yet up?
Yeah, it's now in place.
So I don't understand why it would be a problem to put that back in there.
I'll follow up and get back to you.
Thank you. Next.
Next.
We're a tough committee.
No,
That one hurt.
gotta follow the money. So in the last committee meeting, you guys decided to allocate approximately $2,000 to the to potential crosswalks, and that idea kind of throughout our community. After consulting with engineering, a number of issues have come to light. A simple crosswalk. I do have a recommendation.
Okay, good.
Following. A simple crosswalk template will not suffice to overlay with the existing crosswalks. Simply put, the roads in the ideal locations that we talked about in front of schools and high traffic areas can't handle a simple overlay. That it would require capital upgrades to a lot of the road surfaces that aren't in existing budgets. So
It doesn't make any sense to me.
I think. Do you want me to-
Sorry,
I was gonna
sorry.
take a stab at it, but
Yeah.
I-
Can you explain that a bit more, because I'm just trying to
Yeah.
understand.
So, like along Buckley, there's an existing zebra crosswalk,
Mhm.
and they will repaint it as they need to this year with existing paint and contractors and all that stuff. If that were to be tweaked, if we were wanting to put a creative crosswalk down, it would need improvements to the road before the template could be laid down.
Improvements being a scraping of the old paint off, or?
Not just that, but potentially resurfacing of the road. Resurfacing of the road then goes into water main or existing utilities, things like that.
I am going to say it, I'm going to say it on public. We get stonewalled every time we try to do a creative crosswalk by operations. We really do.
Yeah.
And it's making me a little pissed off, as you can tell.
No, and that's fair. That's why I'm coming with a
And this
recommendation.
is me being gentle.
Absolutely. The current recommendation is under the existing Cleveland Avenue Capital upgrade. There's a crosswalk going in, and our capital project manager is suggesting that this becomes, as you can see, a tribute to Junction Park and the railway that used to exist there, and we can satisfy that with the existing $2,000 allotment. And so we would work with the Public Art Committee on some sort of creative, and he could facilitate that in the existing project plus the funds. I took the slide out of the actual cost, but the estimated cost of something like this would be between $4,000 and $5,000 to make it an approximate 5-year application. And then you would have the consistency of the rainbow, the eye, thank you, and then the railway. And so that suggestion came, again, because it's a nice tie with the historical elements of Squamish, the railway, and the name of the existing park.
Well, okay. Which park is, Junction Park is technically the one where the pavilion is.
Correct.
Stan Clark Park is the one here. Are they talking about, or they're talking about a piece going
He's talking
at
about
the end of Main and,
yeah.
okay,
Correct, yeah. Yeah, so it bridges
right,
the east and west side of,
of Cleveland, at the
Yeah.
south end of Junction Park.
correct. And so that was
Remind me
one,
to change the name of the park.
okay. I have.
No one calls it Junction Park, that's the
I
thing,
never knew
right?
that.
No.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Everyone, since I've been here 24 years, everyone calls it Pavilion Park.
Yeah.
No.
Or
Or
Oh, funny, yeah.
I thought it was OCM.
OCM Pavilion is the name of the pavilion, but
yeah.
remember the old pavilion was there and we called it Pavilion Park.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
No one's ever called it Junction Park.
No.
Um, And I mean, the.
Sorry, I'm a
in-
little
in-
feisty tonight. I
No,
apologize.
it's good. The nomenclature generally that staff have adopted, or that I was, I guess, educated in when I arrived, was that it's OCM Pavilion at Junction Park. And so that generally is internally what is followed. The other part about, the other aspect that we talked about last meeting was the crosswalk just outside of Zephyr and in kind of in that BIA main encroachment area.
Mhm.
And I followed up with Adrian, and he hasn't had the opportunity yet to talk to the BIA about interest in that. So I'll follow up again after some time. They did have their AGM, so they were working through a number of issues. So I'll re-follow up again.
Yeah,
with the
I
next
know we had a development proposal for Second Avenue just down here, and one of the things there is a new crosswalk. I'm assuming it'll take a bit of time for them to redo that, but maybe when that gets redone, just on Second Avenue,
Yeah.
right down here, where the big empty lot is
Yeah, the
beside
big-
the old courthouse.
Yeah.
And then the other thing we talked about last time was out from Sam Squamish Academy of Music doing something musical on Second Avenue at that corner as well.
I will identify that as an area. And I'll follow up with operations in terms of if there's any more, and flag it for development moving forward.
Yeah, okay. So another piece to that, part of, we do a mayor for the day sort of competition with all the schools, and we've asked them to be quite creative this year, but we've also asked them for crosswalk designs in this whole thing, so we'll see what happens. And we gave them some parameters about colors and just this simple design, so we'll see what we get.
Meg's comments, is it appropriate to bring them up?
Sure, yeah, do that. That'd be great.
Meg Fellows is getting too interested in this committee. And I don't mean too interested, but she's
You can
interested.
join
She
it.
was
We
here
have
last
spots.
time. Yeah, I said that. I think
We're a
she's-
nice committee.
It is a very nice committee, and I think she knows that. It's just she's
Not
full right now. She's full. She has a big garden, and just enjoying life and stuff. So I think she's just very passionate about public things anyway. And anyway, she sent me. We were talking a bit about the crosswalks, and we had our discussion last meeting, and so she sent some ideas over. So I'll read it to you.
Awesome.
Further to our chat regarding Public Arts Committee discussion regarding the crosswalks, here are my thoughts. Squamish Public Arts Committee Eye of the Creator template could be used for Cleveland Avenue mid-block crosswalks. The template already exists. Repetition of the theme would brand the Cleveland Avenue shopping street as District of Squamish. Cleveland Avenue Road intersection east-west crosswalks could be reserved for professionally designed crosswalks, such as the rain umbrella, for example. Because I think we were looking at different kinds. Funding from the District of Squamish, the BIA, or other. Cleveland Avenue Road intersection north-south crosswalks could be reserved for community designed and installed. The north-south crosswalks are shorter than the east-west ones. The community designed and installed crosswalks would probably take more time to complete than east-west, and north-south would cause less traffic disruption than if installed on the east-west crosswalks. I think it would be good to have a plan for using crosswalks for public art. The above is just one possibility. Cheers.
Thank you, Meg. And we did talk about that last time, about using the Eye of the Creator, maybe thinking about just from a operations point of view, putting that in, for example, when the Second Avenue one goes in, or...
Well,
Yeah.
and it may be a case of, like, if, and I'm not saying we are, but if we let operations teach us how to do crosswalks, it may never happen, but if we can maybe figure out a cool process that works and that's cheap, and like, it doesn't cost that much to repave, maybe if we spend like, 70% of our budget repaving, and then we have a cheap way of making our template. Right?
Yeah.
So maybe there's an opportunity.
I think that's absolutely right. I think we need to drive it because I think it won't happen as it could happen if operations is driving it.
Well, when they say repaving the road, how much of,
I don't know what they
what does
mean.
that mean, how much?
It depends if it's a really crackly area or if there's,
Just the area
Yeah,
that's
is it
possibly
just,
going to be used for the crosswalk?
yeah.
Well, it'd be like the crosswalk materials and the length of time that they last, and it would be whether or not we gotta go for an asphalt topping or something else that's long, you know,
Yeah, well, I-
longer lasting or.
If I'm reading between the lines is that if we're gonna spend a little extra effort creatively and money on a crosswalk, we don't wanna put it down on a piece of pavement
No.
that's about to fail.
Or that's got other.
Yeah.
But I
But we
think,
shouldn't have to pay for that failed pavement.
no, it would be operations, it would just take that
Yeah.
budget and have to be encompassed in those
Yeah.
budgets.
Yeah.
Yes, and the waterfall effect of preparing the road and doing the road is that you have a surface that is ready to receive a piece of creative crosswalk, so you want it to last a while, which then influences the cost of the application, which then, if you're looking at the main schools, 2 per school, you're looking at a sizable budget item, which the Public Art Committee needs to decide if that's what they would want their kind of 3-year major project to be. That's not where I'm suggesting that the push from the Public Art Committee come. It's just, you're looking at a scope of somewhere between $35,000 and $45,000 to do, say, 2 crosswalks in front of every school that would last a minimum of 5 years.
So here's a debate, does it matter if it lasts 5 years?
Yeah, 'cause
And that's exactly the discussion that we should be having around the table, because there are, the existing zebra stripes last a year to 2 years.
Yeah.
This was an extraordinary year in terms of snow clearing and damage to roads and things like that. So, you can with standard road application paint, the assurance is 1 to 2 years.
Yeah. But that might be fine for public art, because then
Yeah.
you can re-engage
Yeah.
students.
every year you do
Yeah.
And re-engage
Redo it
students, and
every
it
2
becomes
years.
part of a public engagement piece, not just a,
Yeah.
Yes.
and the odd one, we put the 10-year application on.
It also could allow you to be a little wilder, right? So
Exactly.
if people freak out about it, at least it's not gonna last
Say it's
5
gonna wear
years.
out. I think too, I mean, you see images all over the internet of actual communities getting down there and painting. And
Exactly.
And actually getting
Yeah.
people out there and painting it instead of having our contractor
I
or.
don't think we see the fancy paint, if it's gonna last a year or 2, it doesn't have to.
It's a certain type of paint, but it's
Yeah,
not,
Yeah.
but we can get it.
Yes, it's not, I mean, you don't go down to,
It's not your
Hardware
latex
store.
off your shelf, but
yeah,
Oh.
yeah, but it is.
it's a certain type of paint and it's a little more expensive than normal paint, but it's not so sophisticated that an average person can't
Yeah.
paint
Oh,
it.
God.
Yeah, there are, Transportation Association of Canada,
Standards, yeah.
has standards and guidelines that we as a district abide by to mitigate liability and
Yeah, so we can get paints, and I would like to see it so we can actually engage people in actually coming out and painting. And I know our operations staff have a challenge with that, but I expect us to overcome that challenge.
Sweet dog them.
There's history on
Well,
this.
if other municipalities can do it, then we can do it too.
Well, exactly, it happens all over the place.
Yeah.
It doesn't become a union issue, does it?
I think we contract it out anyway,
Oh,
yeah, so
right.
it shouldn't be.
An idea for next year, not this summer, is to develop one of the youth camps that the Arts Council gets, pending our BC Arts Council grant, and doing a phase 2 of the public art camp, being one of these crosswalks. And that's partially funded by the BC Arts Council to do that initiative as our youth engagement, so that's a
Yeah.
potential avenue for next
So
year.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, because that'd be fun for kids to go there and doing it.
Mhm. Okay. All right, we're getting somewhere. That was fun, eh, Devin?
absolutely. Let's make it happen.
You can't wait to read the minutes on that. Stan Clark Park Mosaic. I don't think there's anything
To
new.
report especially now.
Interestingly, I don't know, I think Christina Moore was showing me on Facebook that people were like, now the district is covering up the mosaic and driving heavy machinery over it. They have no respect for public art. You can't win.
No, we're
No.
not supposed to win. Winning would be too much to ask for. So, but we're not driving heavy machinery.
No.
We're not.
Okay, all right.
No,
Not driving
we're
any
not.
machinery over it.
No, it's just, I think people assume because we put the plywood down, we were driving
Doing
over
big
it.
work on it, heavy work.
The
No, I
Parks
mean-
Department has also begun summer operations, so there are a lot, we are much more active in
Yes.
parks in general right now.
Yes. I have a
Yeah.
two question, which I can save for later. So,
I think what, sorry, go on, Catherine, go.
oh no, I just was wondering has there been any assessment work on it or
I
anything?
don't think so.
No, I'm, from a staff perspective, I'm looking for the committee to guide me in what the next steps are and to help determine what the long-term vision is. And so that's why I, with respect, keep putting it on the agenda so
Yeah,
that we
that's
can.
good.
No, thank you.
So I think the committee, based on last week, we're saying this is a valuable piece, it's historical, you know, it has lots of value.
Yeah.
We want to figure out how to preserve it in some form.
Mhm.
So probably the first step is to get someone to come and do a real assessment of it. Sort of saying, oh, you could patch this, or you could just dig out this portion of it and resurface this. But actually do and I mean, I know you did sort of a preliminary, real ballparky kind of thing.
Very
But
well
actually
done.
get someone who can come in here and say, you know, it'll cost you 10 grand to fix
Yeah.
this, or 20 grand to fix this,
Could
or
we
5 grand.
simultaneously also have someone try to put a value on it as a piece? I mean, is that possible? I mean, you could say it's priceless, but I mean, is there a value for a piece of public art like this?
I don't know about how do we value and insure public art. We just have a general rider on all our stuff, but
Just curious, it's
Yeah.
not something people really
It,
talk
it's
about much.
it's a really interesting question, and
might be a
I'll definitely follow up
think-
with finance on
I
that.
think
and
so.
see.
follow up with MIA,
Yeah, absolutely.
because they're,
Because often
we
these
went-
things are taken so for granted that it's like housework, right? There is actually a monetary value on this, and it'd be just nice to have that because, well, just to refer to when needed, if
So-
needed.
this may take a little digging to find someone who can actually do this assessment.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's the challenge. I think that
Because
it might be the best is to contact the city of Vancouver.
Their public art department, because they definitely have mosaics, and Vancouver Library has mosaics too, and I don't know who's responsible for that. And also there's the big, really weird mosaic fountain out in front of the Vancouver Art Gallery.
So,
Yeah. Folks have to all dug up now, but yeah.
Oh, I want that small too.
if I'm able to find someone at the city of Vancouver, is that a conversation that you can
I'd be
participate
very
in?
willing to have it, sure, yeah.
And if they could recommend an assessor to come up and
They,
do, you know, this is gonna cost you 10
yeah,
grand.
if they have that sort of thing. I've noticed some places have been hiring sort of permanent public art people, so Richmond did as well. I don't know what their mosaic situation is, and the city obviously. So, yeah, I'd like that. I would want to know, maybe, might be useful to know this, I don't have an exact measurement for it. So they might want to say how big is it.
Who built it? Didn't you
The
build it?
community built it, no.
So it was a $100,000 grant from the federal government predominantly, and it involved dozens of youth
Yeah,
who did it, and they hired coordinators for a summer to basically do this with tons and tons of young people. So there were multiple artists, multiple participants in
Yes.
it, and it was a grant for 100 grand that actually facilitated the whole thing.
and former councillor Meg, who I just read that thing from, she came to the last meeting to give her history of it, her knowledge of it.
One idea would be to have someone patch it up and then pour like a huge thick clear coat over it, like, right, and then flat, clear surface.
Yeah, the only thing is,
Seal it in there.
It's
we just have slip and fall,
slippery.
like just the liability issue.
Right now, it's part of a walkway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd be concerned, like I said, it needs to be assessed because we need to find out what the water situation is underneath it. Because if you're sealing it, you're just sealing in, it's the way it will rot.
Right.
and in this one area where you see the rotary thing, with the heave and,
They're gonna say, yeah, they're
Yeah.
gonna recommend taking the whole thing up,
Yeah.
yeah,
and, yeah.
I know, well, that
The
was
whole
one,
thing, yeah.
that was why when I made my presentation, I was, what do you want to do with this? How do you feel about it?
well, it could
Yeah,
easily
it's
be
super
10 or
safe,
20 grand.
super safe.
Oh, easy,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that'll
think,
be
easy.
the
Just
whole
because it's so
9
big,
yards.
right?
Yeah, in which case, I think what we'd probably do is assess it, figure out how much it's gonna cost, and then look for some grant funding to actually fix it
Yeah.
through the feds
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity again to engage the community because some of the tiles are wrecked.
Maybe more solid than we think, actually.
Oh, it's,
There's,
Might come apart
Sections
some big
are.
chunks.
oh yeah, sections are in pretty good shape. It's this one area that was walked on a lot, and it seemed to have a lot of the freeze thaw effect. There's big cracks, as you can see.
Yeah.
And they, really, the damage, I didn't even notice any damage till this year, so I think it lasted pretty, it's 18 years old, 17, 18 years old, something like
yeah,
that.
I mean, there's a fair amount of surface damage throughout.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are some big cracks and edging cracks and
Yeah.
things like that. And so there are two considerations, damage to the mosaic itself, but also pieces are coming loose. This is a children's park, so it has to be taken care of that way too, so that it's a safe place to be around.
So if we could somehow get someone up to assess it, and if it takes a little bit of money to do that,
We have that.
we'll figure out how to do that, yeah. Okay.
That'd be awesome, because I was looking around and I couldn't find anybody close.
I keep meaning to call this friend of mine, I keep forgetting to, so I'll do it.
You bring the guy over from the Gaudi Park in Spain.
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
sure.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Well, that's what she was looking at, all the assessors were in Europe.
Yes, well, I was like Majek's there.
Yeah.
I was like, well, why don't we just go on a field trip?
Yeah.
That would take care of the
I
rest of
can
the
fix
budget.
that, no problem.
100 grand.
So,
Cindy, sorry, just go
Oh, sorry.
ahead.
Oh, sorry, I just want, I don't know if that's a silly recommendation or how this would look visually, but I've seen in other cities where they do public art on the ground, they actually put a glass walkway with like a built either metal railing system or wooden system. I don't know if that would work here, but just want to put on the table.
Or benches around it to guide people walking.
Yeah.
well, I mean, when the time comes and any repairs being made,
Yeah,
I would
repairs being
definitely
done, for sure.
recommend that it's not part of a walkway, and that will be my opinion in it
Right.
for various reasons, just for, like I said, preserving and then
Well,
safety as well.
It
Just
seems
'cause
to
it's so
make
many
sense
pieces.
to, yeah, future planning, probably will save money down the road.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's like right in the walk.
It's right in the walkway, it's right in the middle.
But it's gotta come up.
Yeah, if it has to come up, we can move it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it would have to come up in sections. It's just so darn big.
Okay, if we could get a mosaic specialist to come up and have a
Oh, I
look.
know, yeah. What I think is gonna happen with this is that we're gonna be caught between artists who make these things, like me, and people who put them in bathrooms, you know, the technical, they'll have greater regular technical knowledge, or people who do outdoors stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Great.
Okay, bike rack. So, actually, Councillor Chappellin and I were chatting, and we were talking about, particularly about outside of SAM, Squamish Music Academy of Music. They get tons of kids riding their bikes, and there's no place on the sidewalk to put the bike, and so they end up having, 10 or 12 bikes inside their studio every night. And so we thought, well, let's do a creative bike either in a parking stall or in a space that we'll hear about it if we take a parking stall, but something out in proximity to Sam and do a creative bike rack. So I was talking with Christina Nick, and she was saying, well, I'd donate my time, and we were talking about doing a salmon. So I drew up a little thing,
Oh, yeah.
and basically the bikes would be going race.
Slide it into the-
So the problem is, Christina just got all her welding equipment stolen from the Rec Mill Arc area, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And, but anyway, so Christina and I just thought we should just bring it to the Public Art Committee to just to let you guys know or get your okay. Ironically, I had a developer in my office today and he said, well, I'll make a bunch of those, put them up. So, might just sort of see,
She should patent the design.
it's my design.
Oh, yeah.
You should patent it.
Anyway, so
Mhm.
that is my
Great
little
British
sketch.
Columbia bike rack.
Yeah.
I love
And I think she wanted to do a salmon because, of course, she did these other salmon things.
Yeah.
She got, it's my kind of way of saying,
Oh, right, okay.
thanks to the community to
Yeah.
let me put these up around town
Yes,
and pay me to do it.
So what about right across from Sam in the parking lot?
Well, one spot that I was thinking, and right across from Sam, as you go into that parking lot where Baja is and back way of All Keys and Locks and Joe's Fireplace, there's actually a large yellow area that you can't park in, and
Right.
it's actually pretty big.
Yeah.
It's a big one, and I was thinking we could put a bike rack in that area.
Yeah.
But you can't park there as a car, 'cause it sticks out into the,
Yeah.
but you could probably configure a bike rack in there pretty easily. So that was one spot. I think I took a picture on my phone.
Is that salmon spelled S-A-M?
Salmon, S-A-M-O-N.
Salmon, salmon. Salmon,
The
salmon.
Squamish.
Sam,
Sam.
Sam,
Yeah.
Sam, salmon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's clever. I did take a picture,
The,
so I'll just pass this
the
around.
symbol of the place where I grew up in Winnipeg
There's-
has Hi Neighbor Sam, and he's been known that. for
That's
60
just
years.
right across the street from Sam, as you go into, there's quite a large
That makes sense.
Yeah.
yellow area that you can't park. And my personal thing is that all those yellow areas that you can't park a car, we should be putting motorcycle icons in there, and so have people not take, motorcycles not take up a parking
Oh,
stall, and they can
right,
park in all
yeah,
those.
yeah.
I keep trying to get ops to do this, but they don't seem to.
What's the need for putting that there? Sorry, I was,
Squamish Academy Music, they have,
No, but I mean, like, why are the lines there?
basically say you can't park there, because you would be starting to block off the entrance.
Oh, okay,
The
I always thought it was
entrance into the,
something
yeah.
fire related, and I
No,
guess,
it has to do with just view, sightlines and turning radiuses
right.
to get in it.
Yeah.
So but you could put a bike rack in there that could be configured so that you're not impeding any of those things, obviously.
No, that would be good.
So we may have to maybe we'll just tell ops for doing it, instead of asking permission. Does that work?
Absolutely. I think
Joe
we'll
Road.
have a meeting on site with either you or the artist to make sure that the dimensions will work for everyone.
Okay.
You're gonna start having ops watching all the meetings.
Okay, and we're not, at this point, not asking for any money or anything from the Public Art Committee, we just wanted to sort of say we were doing this. Okay. Composition of committee in terms of reference, so, I think is everybody's term up now, Sarah?
Apart from Adrian.
Yeah, that's right, Adrian was just appointed recently, but technically everyone's term is up. And so, we brought application forms for you to fill in right now. And then, council will reconfirm, if you're interested, of course. Did I make it sound like you didn't have a choice?
Yeah. I was gonna say.
Oops. And then there's a few, the youth spot hasn't been filled again, the Squamish Nation spot hasn't been filled.
Did you ever ask?
Did, and she kind of said, oh, that sounds interesting, and then I think it kind of just sounded like it was.
Went forward, okay.
But I'll pursue that again, and then, and one, we have the BIA, we have that one already, right?
Correct.
We have 3 members at large still available, still empty, correct? Who's the member at large here? You 3?
Catherine,
I
Doug,
thought-
and Sydney.
Magic, I saw.
Oh, yeah, Joe, Toby's,
Magic is a member at large on this list. And Laurel,
Laurel, we have to reaffirm. Her term actually expired a couple months ago. We haven't reaffirmed her yet. So we need to redo Laurel. Doug is a member at large, so we'll get it out to the committee. So maybe I'll go to Devin. I think the intention is to absolutely encourage and hope that people want to continue, get people's names back.
Absolutely.
And then with the remaining openings, we'll go out to the public. If you know of anyone who wants to be on it, on the committee, encourage them to get their name in
I'll
there.
drop off the application.
So fill out one of these applications.
Fill out one for yourself, and then we can get some more printed if there aren't enough to give to somebody else who may be interested.
There's lots, I have lots, there's some still.
Do you have anybody
We'll put an ad out in the chief.
I'd love to get someone from Quest University, for example. I'd love to get,
They should be able to.
yeah, we'd, be great to get the youth spot filled. I know we had a girl come after, or what's his name? Remember he came a couple of once or twice after Mallory went away to university?
Right.
Yeah, that's true, you dropped off though.
And then, yeah, and then they didn't come back. But we'll, and school's finishing, so it'll be a little tough to get high school student at this point. Maybe, maybe not, maybe, yeah. Anyway, see if we can get someone, yes, Cindy?
So we have a few students that might be working at this for summer, and we've got a lot of really great applicants, some of which are Quest University students. And so depending on who is hired for what role and where they're from, they might, if it's okay, this can come to these meetings if we're going through the summer, just to
Absolutely.
professional
It's open
development.
to the public, absolutely.
Great. And then maybe from there, if one of them happens to be a local student, they might have interest in continuing, so that's just putting that out there.
That is fantastic, love it.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
My son's painting houses for the summer.
Is there some Charlie?
He's working with Charlie.
Then we also wanted to discuss terms of reference, is that right, Sarah? We wanted to, so currently the way this committee's set up is, it's a one-year term, and it just seems a little tiresome to renew it every year. So we'd like to establish 2-year terms, so at least we don't have to renew. And it could be we stagger half 1 year, half 2 years, so there's some overlap, but it just wanted to make sure the committee was, or any thoughts on how we deal with that? That sounds all right?
Yeah, sounds good.
It's gonna be intimidating for the youth to get a youth member to come out and see them at these meetings, though. And I was trying to think of how do you bridge that? How
It
do you
always
kind of-
depends on.
Mallory
the
was
person.
great.
She was,
Yeah.
I think she warmed up, you know,
Mhm.
over the course of the year.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking even younger then, but.
Well, she was in grade 12,
She
yeah.
was in
Oh,
grade
yeah.
12, and she wanted to go to art school, so.
Yeah,
it was
she
kind
went to
of-
art school, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you do engage a youth or a Quest student and they're worried about transportation, we can always figure out how a committee member, or I can pick them up, or we can figure out how to get them here.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so we'll, should we put a motion forward, or should we just make a recommendation to council to change the terms of reference to 2 years? We'll
Yes,
just do that?
Yeah.
Okay. But generally, the committee's supportive of that. A year goes fast.
Or you could, and you could, I don't know, I was gonna say you could put a year probation or something, or like, that way you could end it after a year, or you could just put it on for 2 years automatically, and but that way you don't have to, if you get someone that you don't want after 2 years, you're not stuck with someone. I don't know, I was always thinking of
Okay.
putting something out for you, for the committee.
Well, like,
Maybe you don't want.
yeah. Yeah, I think there is something in there that says if you don't make 3 committee meetings in a row, we can ask you to resign.
correct, yeah. There's some good terms and absenteeism language in
Yeah.
the existing terms of reference.
And obviously, people go away for a while, but they're really active participants anyway. We're not gonna kick them off if they haven't missed 2 meetings. Okay, so we'll do those changes. Public art application. We have an application.
Yeah, so we received an application from Squamish Arts Council earlier this week, and I thought it was a great opportunity to put it on the agenda, just given the timelines of what everyone's operating at. So I don't know how you guys normally tackle this, if
We
if
have-
the proponent generally
We haven't really done one except for this alternative school.
I found some.
So this is new for us too, because we
Okay.
just kind of set this up in the last couple months.
Oh, I see, okay.
Yeah, and generally, I think, just going through this again, actually, Toby, do you want to speak to it? Or does Sydney want to speak to it?
I can start.
She can
Yeah,
start.
yeah. So basically, we received a grant from the BC Arts Council to do youth engagement again this year, so it's another round. One of the camps is going to be a public artist or public muralist camp that Toby's going to be running, which is great. So you can see there's a bit of a design there. Toby can speak more to the design elements, but essentially we're coming to ask three things: use of this space, also any sort of investigation to make this area safe for children and the artists to be in and create in, as well as a little bit of funding for paints that would be suitable for outdoor durability and use, as well as environmentally friendly, considering it's a coastal sensitive area.
So this was one of the areas that we had put originally, that Carrie had put forward originally to be one of the areas that we considered. And I think it's a high profile, great spot, kind of funky.
Yeah, it'll really stand out.
So the design hasn't been finalized because that's gonna be part of the camp process.
Yeah,
And so I just, took the photo and just overlaid, a couple of graphic images, just to show what, the potential was. And then it's like a concrete or, slab wall, and it looks kind of like a box, right? So we would wrap the design around the entire space. So when I first went to the site to look at it, my only concern was just, the fact that it is slightly precarious in that, there are guardrails, those are covered up because of me just plopping that image on top of it, but, they're not, a kid could crawl through them.
yeah. So maybe what we do is we ask ops to just look at the site and see what they think it would take to be able to make it more secure, so to have youth painting around this.
Yes, if I may, I've had preliminary conversations with ops, and what I'd like to propose is a site meeting with yourself and ops to make sure that everyone really understands the safety implications and the logistics
kids
of
are gonna be on
actually
site
doing
and-
this.
Yeah.
And then we can also learn about what operations comes with resource and equipment constraints, and they're not unsurmountable, but they will come at a cost to the public art budget, because that will be what operations requires to help you guys satisfy this project. So I think once we get a better understanding of that, I would
Somebody's
recommend that's
budget,
our-
it may
yeah.
or may not be the public art budget technically, if there's some other funding, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yes,
Yeah.
other than ops, yeah.
Yeah, so, does that, are you guys amenable to that? Does that sound like a good process to initially get it rolling? What I love is that you guys have a very clear time constraint. And so we need to work towards that for you.
Okay, so you can coordinate with Sydney and Toby and ops to set up a time and play.
Exactly, they're on standby for next week.
Okay, fantastic. And then, yeah, the other little piece is figuring out what kinds of paints would be okay in the riparian area, because technically if the paint does go into this, it would go into the Squamish River, right? So we need to figure out a mechanism so that if paint was spilled or whatever, there's a catch. What's that?
Get your spill kits ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's been tagged, that wall has been tagged before and repainted over top of.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was another thing that I was thinking it would be nice if, it kind of means that part of it is already primed with paint, but part of it isn't.
Yeah.
So,
It's just a gray paint, right?
yeah.
It's a really nice gray though.
It's a really nice gray.
It's like deep.
It's like the perfect gray. It's like concrete gray.
It's like,
Concrete, right?
Okay, And certainly part of the public art consideration was we would consider supporting costs of paint. Do you remember what we supported the other mural project?
It was 500.
500,
Was it?
800,
Yeah,
something like
I ended up
that?
getting them about 300 from Cloverdale as well.
Right.
For, yeah, extra paints that were
Right,
considered.
right.
Yeah.
They haven't drawn on that yet.
Okay.
I'm in touch with them and they're painting away underneath the underpass and they're moving along, but they haven't
Okay.
had to draw on any funds.
Oh,
so far.
good. That's great.
Oh,
How much, do you have the public art budget on you? Was it in last week's minutes? I don't remember.
It is in last,
Yeah, we did talk about it last time.
I should re-update you guys in the committee, because obviously with the awarding of the mural project,
44,000 in reserve currently, but we are trying to. Anyway, I think we have $500 or $800 or, would that be a good start, Sydney and Toby?
Yeah.
We allocated $500 for now?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that something the public art committee is interested in doing?
Absolutely, yeah, I think it's a great spot.
We're not allowed to
I
vote. I'm not gonna say anything.
got a power wash you can just clean it
The
up.
one, two, they're trying to sell.
Okay. We probably need a motion to that effect. Fran, do you want to move that? Andy, you want to second that?
was
See
that,
how voluntarily they did that?
was that
Any more
5 or
discussion?
800, or was that a range?
Well, let's do 500 for now,
Yeah.
and if you're finding you're just going over budget, come back to the committee. But
Yeah, I think
That
so.
sounds
Yeah,
right.
okay, no, that sounds good.
I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Awesome. Anyone have any idea how Stan is doing with his mural festival?
We just wrote a letter of support the other day, so I know that he's looking
So-
for sponsors and things right now. I did meet with a young artist last week, communication might be interested, so, and assist him with that project, so I tried to put the two in touch. Other than that, I think he's got 2 spaces right now that he wants to do murals on, one being Dunker. That's all the other person has. If anyone else has want to add.
Just curious. I'm glad to hear it's still moving. I think that was our last scheduled item. And there aren't any recommendations to council and, or referrals from council. And there's no correspondence. Round table discussion. Sydney?
So it's not really public art, but considering it was a piece of public art, it still is, maybe it's appropriate coming up. But Arts Whistler is having an actually Tom experience starting in June. I'm sure everyone is aware. There was talk between us and them about doing a co-gallery, and just the way it is, I don't think us doing a gallery is the most appropriate pathway, but what I think would be cool is if we arrange for a bus to take Squamish people to Whistler for the opening ceremony. So the Arts Council has taken on to try to arrange this, but I just want to put it to this committee, because we'll be looking for, it's not a fundraiser or anything, it's just like literally let's just get people to go.
It's a party.
Yeah, and so we're
Party
gonna,
bus.
exactly. So we're gonna try to reach out to people in the community that have buses. So if anyone has any connections or resources they want to send my way, just put on the table and try to get that going.
All right, so the date is June.
June 2nd.
Second.
Yeah, and I think the
I'm
ceremony
not
starts at
here.
5.
Conference.
I
Oh,
understand,
you're not here?
I understand they're not going to take the mural.
No, and not for this collection. So that's another
I-
piece to talk about too.
I had coffee with Heather Tom last week.
Oh,
and-
great.
And she hoped that perhaps it could find a home or a place to put it up in, for the duration, like for She said it would be great to have Squamish somehow involved in the, because the Chili Tom experience is going to be all over Whistler, and it's going to be, the
Yeah.
Squamish Little Cultural Center is going to be a big center for it. More Young Arts Center, obviously, and yeah, so.
Well, we can look at, I mean, it is stored
In the
right
big
now.
house, yeah.
Yeah, so it's possible to put it up for the month of June in a temporary location, but, I mean, I definitely been into suggestions.
I wonder if you could, build scaffolding and put it up.
Sure,
Then you just
said scaffolding is safe, you know, life secure.
Protected, yeah.
Yeah. It's the largest piece he ever did, isn't it?
I think so,
Melanie? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
about
it's
20 by 30, something like that. Yeah, it still doesn't have a home.
Yes, Devin?
It's an interesting size, and it might coincide with either an application on Brennan Park in terms of the outside of the facility, or the back of Ocean Pavilion. And then it's shielded from, the problem with putting it up on any sort of scaffold is that there's significant wind load that it will create, and so in order to mitigate that, just throwing out potentially interesting ideas.
Or have it as a backdrop at the back of Ocean Pavilion.
That's
That's what you meant,
yeah.
okay.
Is it big
sorry,
enough?
Yeah.
I'd have to measure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think we might have some height
That's a good idea.
restrictions,
Yeah.
but
Interesting idea. Okay.
I've had another suggestion where you mount the backs, because the plywood's not good. It's still okay, but it's not super strong anymore. It's, you know, it's old, it's waterlogged. But to find a way, because there's a lot of concrete walls around town too, and to drill through the plywood again into the concrete might not be the best thing to do. So to try to mount something, create a mounting system on the back, so you can like hook the panels on in some way. Probably need an engineer to help with this, but yeah.
has it been sealed?
Hasn't been sealed, no. So Stan said he volunteered to do touch-ups and sealing. I'm sure another artist would be interested to volunteer for that too, but.
Okay. And, I mean, we could come to the committee to determine if there's a little bit of funding to help with that maintenance, and we can talk about that, bring that back, if there's some money involved in it. Okay, yeah, it just seems a shame to have good public arts.
I know,
Doors.
it's sitting in a
How's
sea
it
can.
stored, can I ask? Is it,
Yeah, it's sitting in a sea can right now. Yeah, that's
and is it just like pieces just stacked on top of each other?
pretty much, yeah.
Because that's, yeah.
Is it gonna stay damp or is it dry?
No, it's in a dry spot, which is great. Yeah, it's not ideal to have them because they're stacked. We tried to not lean them as much as possible, but there is some lean involved. It's not ideal, and that place for storage is not a long-term place either. The intent is to be
We'll
short,
find a plan.
to find a home for it. It'd be cool, I mean, we were talking about a system that was easy to take off and stuff, that it could travel, because, you know, it'd be great to see in Lions Bay and stuff, but realistically, not all places have something to just 30-foot lean up.
Yeah, you may want to, like, if the committee's going to invest, you may want to invest in like a roll of like that foam stuff, you know, so at least there's something in between each layer, so it doesn't stick, and you worry about it sticking to each other, maybe?
Yeah,
So
like
you
something.
peel it
to be-
off and it's like,
All the pieces.
yeah,
That's actually-
anyway.
Yeah, it's
so I
happened.
just
And
asked.
the sooner we
I
can
keep
actually
things before.
touch
If
it
it
up.
still happened
and
years ago,
Put it up
yeah.
somewhere would be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, as soon as the weather is good too, I imagine I can involve Stan in that conversation.
Yeah.
and-
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe we can figure out a way to do that as part of the mural festival this summer or something.
Yeah, Stan's had some ideas too.
Okay.
But yeah, for sure. Actually, lots of that.
Andy, any roundtable?
No, thank you, no.
Question. The items that we didn't wrap, like the various power boxes and things like that that didn't get approved, are we taking that back out to like what's the status of that? What is there next move for that?
I don't think we discussed one.
I don't think we did.
And
I
I
was
think
just
we sort
wondering.
of decided maybe just go with these two for now, but that was sort of a non-decision.
Sure. I thought about it, and then I thought about the number of people who applied, and I thought about the number of people who didn't apply that I knew who could have applied,
Mhm.
like people I know in Whistler,
Mhm.
kind of went, that's too bad, you know, it's a missed opportunity. I mean,
I think
missing it. Probably
Once we
isn't.
start to do these more regularly,
People will look
it'll
out for
become
it.
more well-known
Yeah.
and more artists from the whole corridor will start to be paying attention and
Yeah.
realize there's
Well, I mean, I
this
can
activity
target
going on.
certain artists too that I know do murals
Yeah.
and just say, hey, did you know about this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I didn't do.
We also are working towards the BC Hydro Beautification Project as well, that will give the opportunity for 6 boxes to go out to competition, which I see going out in the next month or so.
Okay,
So
I'll flag it.
They're supposed to go soon. I thought they were already supposed to go, no?
it hasn't gone out yet, it can go out soon.
And that can be for any 2D artist, which includes photography,
Right,
as well as any.
Any painters and-
Any
Mhm.
painters or,
okay, well, that's really cool to know,
yeah.
yeah.
And those will come back to the committee to make decisions. Toby, any roundtable? You have a showing at the Bucknell Art Gallery?
Yeah.
Yes.
Bracondale Art Gallery, all month. all
About
month
time.
May. Yeah, it's about
Yeah.
time, yeah.
How many
And,
pieces?
I'll have about, close to 25 pieces, I think. yeah.
Cool.
I'm not exactly sure how many's gonna go up, there'll be
Yeah,
lots,
yeah.
lots. It's gonna be cool.
Awesome,
Cool
that's
impact.
fantastic, congratulations.
Yes, and my opening reception is this Sunday, 3 to 5, so.
Oh, I'm gonna put that in my calendar.
Yes.
Cool, anything else?
No.
Fran? No. Do I have anything? I look to Devin.
Not that I haven't checked off.
I don't know if this is worth mentioning, but this is tooting my own horn a bit, but we won Best Newspaper for BC for our category. So the chief won, thank you, the chief won for theirs as well. Did they? No, they won something, anyway. They won a few things and they did great. And anyway, I just wanted to say that my art section won the best for 3 years in a row, the highest mark out of all the papers. So I just wanted to thank
Well done.
anybody. Yeah, I'm happy because that makes me happy. But I'm also happy because it just is an indication that there's so much happening here.
Right.
And
Yes.
that and so much variety of things happening in the arts here, and it's just fabulous to be.
And speaking of so much
Yeah.
happening, the foyer gala fundraiser in the library was Monday night, and we had our biggest attendance and support from donors this year that we've ever had.
Fantastic.
And so it was hopping night. So
Yes.
It's great.
That's good,
It's really
that's
good.
fantastic. Yeah, I think once we get all these things and the hydro box is done and the mural's done and hopefully some crosswalk. And we got Christina's stuff up there, and the banners, when are the banners going up actually on the poles?
The
Soon,
banner's going up the week of May,
in a week or two, right?
yeah,
Before the long weekend.
correct.
And
Yeah,
so
week of May.
you're starting to feel the presence in the
Pizzazz.
community slowly but surely, which is nice.
And on Facebook today, or yesterday, there's a bottle cap mural that's flipping around, and there's people that are saying that Joanna Schwartz, she had posted, said, oh, the arts committee needs to look at doing some bottle cap murals. I mean,
Well,
this was one inside a school,
What's his name?
Someone wants to bring a proposal to the committee, we're hoping,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then Catherine Kerr, who lived here,
Years ago, yeah.
yeah,
and she's now head of public arts for the
Edmonton
Edmonton Arts
Arts
Council.
Council, yeah.
And she posted a photograph of this gigantic pair of boots as their latest installation, made out of brick, I think.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
wow.
talented,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Yeah, she lived across the street from me.
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all for the agenda. Motion to terminate. Toby, Sydney, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.